Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the Lake of the Ozarks recap brought to you by T&H Marine this week. Before we get started, T&H Marine has a new campaign. It's called Fuel the Fun campaign. It started May 1st and it's running through July 31st. They've got weekly giveaways of gas cards, T&H Marine packages. And like I say, do that weekly. Stuff will change every week until the end of the year when they're doing the summer grand prize giveaway. Be sure to check them out at tnhmarine.com/fuel the fun. Okay, so Lake of the Ozarks. Never been there before. Always heard it had a ton of fish in it. So I was kind of anxious to get there and see what's going on. I decided in practice I was probably going to concentrate more in the middle section of the lake, and so that's what I did. Day one of practice, I got in the water, and I think the water temperature is 58, 59. So it's supposed to have good, pretty stable weather all week. So I figured there'd be some already spawning, and then probably a wave moving up towards the end of the week. And anyways, I had a really good practice. I would just run the banks with a big swim bait. I had my hooks rolled over, and all three the 3 practice days, I could have, I had the bites for probably anywhere from 17 up to probably 21, 22 pounds, the first day. So I was really looking forward to get out there. And, a lot of times at least for me, when the bass are spawning out, and I'm throwing that swim bait, I get a lot of followers, and that kind of just lets me know where the bed is. I can come back and, throw a wacky rig or whatever in there and catch them. But the 3 days of practice, I was getting a lot of fish that actually would eat the swim bait. And that's really kind of a, fickle time, because, one day they may come out and eat it, and, then the next day, they don't. They just come out and kind of show themselves. So this is going to be a short one. Like I say, had a good practice. So on day one, I started kind of close to takeoff. I had a big one eat a swim bait there in practice, the last day of practice. And I started there, and, I throw my swim bait down through there, and one bumps it. I pick up a wacky rig. I catch it. It's just the buck. The female had already left. Then I ran to another little bank where I'd had a decent bite on a jig in practice, and I caught like a 2.7 to start out off my day on day one. And then I kind of started running, a lot of the big fish that I had found in practice, and most of them were gone. I did end up catching like 3 males that were, 3+ pounds. I caught one actually off a bed, sight fishing. I caught one on my swim bait. And what did I catch the other one on? It may have been, I can't remember now. Been too long ago, I guess. And then I just had a few other that ate the swim bait. I caught one on a wacky rig that she came out and bumped my swim bait, and I threw the wacky rig in there and caught her, or him as a big male. So I had 14.6 the first day. I was sitting pretty good. I think I was up in 20 something. I can't remember for sure, or 30, right around 30, something like that. But the problem I had was, like I say, a lot of the fish that I found in practice had already left. Saw a lot of empty beds. So I really didn't know what I was going to do on day 2. There'd been some, there's some keeper fish that I'd marked that I hadn't been to. So I thought, well, maybe run some of those, and then I'd probably just run a lot of new water. In practice, I did stop on one bluff and had a few bites on one bluff. So on day 2, I started close to the ramp again, kind of fish that bank with the jig, no bites there. Then I kind of went to a bluff wall where I'd had a decent one to swim bait in practice, and I caught like a 12-inch spot there. And then I went to another little cut that there was quite a few fish spawning in practice. A lot of them were spotted bass, but there were a few largemouth in this one little corner. And there's another boat in there, and I don't know if he just went in that corner before I got there, but I didn't see anything there. And and like I say, most of the other fish I saw back in there in practice were spotted bass. So I didn't even go back in the cut itself. But there was kind of a deeper bank running into it, so I picked up a jig, and I catch my second one, which is a spotted bass. And then, I fished around the point out on the main lake side, and it's kind of, it was a bluffy type bank. It wasn't a straight up bluff. My boat, I was sitting out off the bank a little bit, but, my boat was in like 20 feet or so. It's not like my boat was sitting in 60. And, I started, flipping my jig down through there, and I catch a couple largemouth that were keepers, caught a couple non-keepers. Went in another pocket, didn't do any good. Come back out and started flipping down the next little bluffy style bank, and I finally catch my 5th one. At this point, I probably got like 8 pounds because I've got like 2 12 or 13 inches in there. So I thought, well, I'm gonna go throw my swim bait. I figured it. If I catch 11 and a half to 12 pounds, I'd make the cut. And I thought, if I go throw that swim bait long enough, I'm either going to get a big one to eat it, or can find one on a bed that I can catch. And I ended up catching 2 or 3 on the swim bait. Called out those little guys, but I never did see a big one. And by the end of the day, my time just kind of ran out. I only had 10 pounds, 1 ounce on day 2. Which I finished in 61st for the tournament. It's kind of disappointing after the practice I had. I don't know what else to say about it. But I mean, looking back, some of the best tournaments I've had were the worst practices I've had, and kind of vice versa. So, a little disappointing, but it wasn't a bomb. I was in 16th in points, and that I figured I'd probably drop to mid 20s or something like that. But I actually only dropped to 19th, which is good. We got two tournaments to go. The next one's at Potomac River, and then the final one is up at La Crosse, Wisconsin, on the Mississippi. They take the top 8 in points to the Bass Pro Tour. So, hopefully we can have a couple good tournaments, and, make that top 8. That's kind of the goal, since there's no championship this year. Other than that, I really like the way Lake of the Ozarks fished. It was a great tournament lake. There's so many little pockets and coves and stuff like that. And, it's a good tournament lake when you go in like a decent size like pocket, and you get annoyed if there's like one other boat in there. So most of the time you go in, there wasn't anybody there. So for the most part, I was just able to run around the lake. I didn't really feel like I was dealing with a lot of pressure from a lot of other anglers. The only thing I can think is, like I say, that section of lake that I was fishing was really hot in practice. And then the only thing I can figure is on day 2, maybe I should have went further down the lake to practice and more towards the dam. Maybe those fish were, in that stage that, the fish up the lake were, 3 or 4 days prior when, we had our practice. So, anyway, fun lake, beautiful lake. I definitely know I would not want to be there, after the beginning of May. With all the boats, we got a little taste of that. The first tournament day, it was nice. It's supposed to be like 80 degrees, and I mean there was quite a few big boats running around. And I can't even imagine what it is in the middle of summertime trying to run around that place. But anyway, that's all I got for this recap. Like I say, be sure to check out tnhmarine.com for the giveaway, and that runs through July 31st. So if you have any other questions or comments, drop them below, and we'll see you next time.